Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in Game 3 in a best of 3 series between Root Gaming's Minigun and Evil Genius's Idra here in the Xel'Naga Caverns MLG version. The only difference is that there are supply depots burrowed or lowered at the ground low part to make sure that you cannot get pylon blocked or have any strange wall-ins inside your own base until those depots are actually cleared. Those depots very difficult to take down during the early portion of the game if you don't have that many units, as a lot of wall-in attempts are essentially that way. Idra spawning on the south side of the map at the 8 o'clock position. Meanwhile, Minigun spawning on the north side of the map as the light blue Protoss. And now setting up that pylon here, pretty much what we've seen in all of the matchups so far. Minigun setting up this pylon here will be able to get a gateway and a cybernetics core, finishing off that wall-in attempt. Idra, we'll see if he tries to go for a fast hatchery or spawning pool first. I think I've seen him go spawning pool first, and I wouldn't be too surprised to actually see him try to go spawning pool first on this map as well, just because of how wide open this natural expansion is. You want to make sure you have the Zerglings in order to clear out that probe there. And now Idra's sitting at 170 minerals. He should be setting up that spawning pool in just a moment. And there he goes, a drone growing up to be a spawning pool. Now down over here, Minigun just trying to block a hatchery which will not be coming in for quite some time. Minigun realizing the timing, deciding to back off, and now 2 drones coming in. So 2 drones once again putting pressure or trying to look like they want to set up a hatchery, and Minigun doesn't realize that these drones are more of a distractionary tactic. He knows that he cannot really get that much damage in onto the trying to deny the hatchery. The probe going to come up the ramp, see that there is a spawning pool in fact, and most likely try to cancel up that pylon. By the time that pylon finishes, Zerglings will be warping in. Yes, there he goes. Cancel at 191 hit points and shields. And now we should be seeing a cybernetics core. But that one pylon block did supply lock Minigun for a little bit of time, unable to train up any additional probes. And now you can see that Idra slightly ahead, sitting at 19/26 over 19/26, and now training up a queen as well, as this drone still putting a little bit of pressure onto this probe. The probe denying any true expansion attempts so far, as Idra is still trying to shoo this one probe away. There you goes. Finally sets up that hatchery, and now the Zerglings finally come over and meet them as well. The probe should be able to escape out of there with no real issue. A second queen now being trained. The first queen now being trained. Where is that second queen? So Idra only with 1 queen at this stage, and one of the reasons why you go for an early spawning pool is to get a faster queen. So I'm a little curious as to why this queen is so far delayed, but the queen should be able to lay down a creep tumor and try to connect these bases with creep in order to make sure that the queen can transfer easily and roaches and hydras can move very freely in between the two. Zergling now coming in to try to peck apart at this one probe. It looks like the probe should be able to escape, but another Zergling coming in to try to help, and somehow that Zergling was in front of the probe but still ended up behind him. Back over here, we see a Zealot now watching the front door here. That drone now still just trying to maneuver around on the inside, and it looks like that drone, yes, will get taken down by Minigun. Minigun having 1 sentry, and now going back into that sentry style of play. And the sentry style of play definitely helped Idra at this, or helped against Idra in game 1 on Tal'Darim Altar, getting a lot of force fields down. It definitely helped. As we are now going into that warp gate research, I imagine another sentry will quickly be trained up, as well as a pylon now being warped down on that low ground. And Minigun may end up being supply locked, or he's currently unable to build up anything off of this gateway. He probably wishes he had enough food cap in order to continue to warp in more and more sentries at this stage, and then allow them to gain more energy. Back over here, Idra running still off of 2-base play, and now getting that Roach Warren. No Hydralisk just quite yet. No tech to tier 2 at all, as the Zerglings just hanging around trying to figure out what these sentries and this one Zealot can do at this point. The Zerglings will not be able to run by at all, but Minigun trying to establish this 3rd base is going to have a little bit of a difficult time, just because these Zerglings are going to be able to at least sit there for quite some time. The sentries now finally make their mark and move on out, as a Nexus now being warped in. Always nice when you can warp in 3 units and then follow it up with some sentries as well, since sentries are so gas heavy and not very mineral heavy at all. Sentries and zealots now making their way out. It looks like they're going to be trying to put a little bit of pressure down. Idra with a decent number of roaches, 3 roaches, 7 roaches now, but there are still no creep tumors just quite yet. A creep tumor finally being placed down from here, from the starting location. Idra now needs to spread this creep out as quickly as possible and giving those roaches that faster movement speed. You can see the sentries are now trying to move in. There is a queen and those roaches now trying to battle it out. Those sentries have to be very, very careful. The roach may be able to snipe them down, and oh, there's a force field. And you would normally think that Minigun was able to escape and actually won out on that exchange there, but he did use up 200 energy, and 200 energy for force fields. When every force fields matter in long battles, we'll see if that has any real change in the outcome of the game. Sentry now going to get picked off. 4 Zerglings able to gladly trade off against 1 Sentry, as the Zerglings now going after more and more of those sentries, deciding to back off here as the roaches now are now trying to continue to push. The Zerglings want to flank up in front of those sentries as much as possible. More force fields blowing down, and I'm not sure if Idra is trying to use this tactic in order to deplete the energy of the sentries. There's really no way. He has a stronger army at this stage, but he's just trying to deny those sentries and make sure that those sentries are not there once the higher tier Colossus are out as well. You can see the zealots now trying to get within combat range, that because that 1 roach was pushed up against the wall, it was actually able to get a lot of decent kills there, going after even more sentries. The sentries are getting picked apart, and with Root Minigun now only down to 5 sentries, he can't really push out, and he cannot really rely on force fields nearly as much. If he tries to push out at this stage, he'll just battle up against the Zerglings that are already out and about. You can see this proxy pylon down over here by Minigun will get cleaned up in just a moment, as we are now taking the tier 2, and the forge is also coming online, perhaps for level 1 weapons upgrade. Army wise, Minigun also going into the robotics facility, getting that forge, running off of 4 gateways, and you should be able to replenish that army rather quickly. But he is currently supply locked at no longer supply locked, 71/76. Production wise, we are getting more drones, 36 drones versus 44 probes. And normally where Idra is winning out in the economic game, he is actually behind. Another hatchery finally coming into play. Xel'Naga Caverns, very difficult for a Zerg to try to establish up a 3rd base in any decent, reasonable amount of time. The Zerglings trying their best to take apart those rocks. It looks like they will go down eventually. And now another queen also needs to be trained up and transferred over. Roaches, an additional hatchery, an additional extractor also being warped in here, as the Overlord getting a decent amount of scouting and site information here. A Stalker deciding to finally back off as the Zerglings try to keep as much map control as they possibly can. You can see both Xel'Naga watchtowers are currently both Xel'Naga watchtowers are currently owned by Idra, so Idra does have a significant portion of the field revealed to him, but all he really has is map control at this stage. Minigun now just pretty much leaving these pylons here. The Stalkers are going to be able to come over, get some damage onto those units, and then back off once more. So a lot of sentries and zealots here. Army-wise, we are chrono boosting out an Immortal, getting the level 1 weapons upgrade. The Observer already on its way out. Production-wise, we see more drones and a lot more roaches. So Idra now really trying to be careful and really trying to power drone his way back into this game. He is sitting at 57 drones now, so he is now even on drones, so that will definitely help him out. He is also mining off of additional mineral patches, and that will help out as well, as the Zergling easily gets cleaned up by the attacking force of Minigun. The Zerglings are now going after the Overlord here. There is one Observer here. That Observer is going to be spotted and now trying to keep track as the Immortal now coming down in this position. A Queen versus an Immortal. That Immortal, I'm not quite sure what that Queen is doing. The Queen could actually engage and rather quickly take down those hardened shields, and it looks like the Immortal deciding to back off the burst damage. Immortal is only really dealing a lot of damage against armored units, and that Queen, not armored, and pretty much benefiting that a little bit more. Back over here, we can see that Colossi are now being added, and that Protoss Death Ball that we've seen very, very often should be coming in from Minigun. Minigun does not have the Twilight Council, will not be able to tech up and get the level 2 weapons upgrade, but instead going for the level 1 armor upgrades, increasing the armor of all the gateway units from 1 to 2. I don't think that High Templar actually have 1 base armor, but the Colossus unable to swarm around. Roaches are going to try to engage. Force fields coming in from the front and the back, and a lot of energy was used in this engagement. You can see how many sentries there are, and those roaches are now being forced to pull away. A lot of energy used, and that will be energy that will take quite some time to be replenished. Army-wise, 3 base versus 3 base. Or sorry, base-wise 3 base versus 3 base. Meanwhile, production-wise, you can see more roaches and drones still coming in. Idra now sitting on 57 drones, so he is once again behind, as Minigun still queuing up as many probes as possible. And I'm thinking that Minigun has a stronger economy, and he should be able to move out and deal some damage in just a moment. Extended thermal lance range about to be completed. We are getting some additional photon cannons over here as well. So a nice little bit of a mirror here. Actually, that is not a mirror. I thought that was a never mind. I thought this was a photon cannon, and it's a nice little bit of a mirrored pattern. But that is not the case, as the roaches are now coming over to snipe down all of these pylons. Those roaches really need to push their way forward in order to get enough damage onto them. The sentry is over there, and that sentry just simply going to get sniped down. And another pylon now taken down as well. Roaches trying to battle it out. The stalkers do not have blink, will not be able to engage against them, as the roaches of Idra are moving much more quickly. Colossus now making their way over. Minigun supply locked, 155 over 148. Idra sitting at 63 drones compared to the 80 probes. He is behind, but that should mean that, no, even Minigun has more probes and also a larger army cost-wise. Yeah, so he has more probes, a larger army cost-wise, and has less food. That is one of the benefits of Protoss. Protoss able to just do that pretty easily, and able to have very expensive units. Meanwhile, these roaches are only at 100 resources each, as opposed to the Stalker at 175. So Stalkers are a bit more expensive, but only cost the same amount of food, and that's why you need to really compare all sorts of stats in order to try to balance the rest of that army. Roaches now battling it out, going after one Stalker. One Stalker is going to get engaged, but the rest of these roaches are going to get taken down with relative ease. Sorry, I need to stop saying relative ease, like taking candy from a baby, as Stalkers and Colossus now getting into this location. Here, we are getting some Corruptors out. The Corruptors are going to try to engage, but I don't know if Idra will actually be able to deal that much damage. Idra does have a decent amount of Corruptors, no tech to tier 3, 9 Corruptors out. If he does cast that Corruption down, he should be able to make those Colossus just melt rather quickly. But Idra, with only level 1 weapons upgrade, going against 1-1, and Minigun now with the smaller army, but I think he does have more resources, and also will be able to replenish his units off of these gateways very, very quickly as well. You can see more Stalkers now coming in. Both sides sitting on about 200 food at this stage, as the roaches are now trying to do a bit of a split attack there. You can see that the Stalkers are now trying to run back, and now these roaches may be able to just get some damage onto those units there. This one cannon may get taken down. The main army is still battling out over here. In comes a Guardian Shield, and the roaches are unable to really get that much damage. And Idra now going after the Colossus. 2 Colossus already, or 2 Colossi already down. These roaches and Hydras need to back off, and another another Colossus taking down the Corruptors. Should have perhaps tried to fly up onto that high ground location there. There was no observers, no Colossus to gain sight. Production-wise, 28 Zerglings, 14 Hydralisks, and more Roaches. But now we are starting the level 3 weapons upgrade, and Idra, you are behind significantly. Idra desperately needs to perhaps just mine more, try to get back into this game. He does have the larger army, but the resources are not really allowing him to upgrade all too quickly, as Minigun about to finish 2-2. In comes some force fields, army going to get caught, and once again out of position. There you go, being able to just fight Zerg units one at a time. When they come in a single file line like this, or when only about 1/10 of the army is able to engage at a time, Minigun is just able to pick and choose his fights rather easily. Roaches are going to try to engage once more. Sentries do have a little bit of energy left, but no, really not enough force fields. Never mind, 4 of them, just enough there. As the Roaches and the Hydras continue to try to battle it out, the Stalkers are engaging. Stalkers are blinking back and forth. And you can see just how strong Minigun is with this Protoss army, and Idra has left the game. So Idra losing 2-1 to Root Minigun here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this best of 3 series. Idra unable to finish off Root Minigun.